John, how you doing?
I'm doing really well, Jason. How are you doing?
I'm well. Not implicated in any international money laundering schemes or exploded plea bargains, but there's a lot of crazy stuff going on right now. We've got you depicted in today's, artificial intelligence extravaganza in your full prestidigitation mode. Pretty good, I think.
Fantastic. And it looks to me like there might be some artificial intelligence involved, because I think I got 7 fingers on one hand. And,
it's a little weird on the fingers.
Something magical. Yeah, something
this
magical's happening.
Going this way, this one's going this way. This guy's like, what do you want from me?
It reminds me of that episode, the conjoined fetus lady episode from South Park. And,
everything comes back.
Looks like
South
maybe
Park
I've got a little
episode.
baby Fauci, right? A little conjoined Fauci
in the finger.
So, right, that would be a hell of a magic trick. So, one of the fun things, people who watch this show know that we're only really here on YouTube for about 25 minutes. And then we go over and we do an hour 15, hour 20, whatever it is based on the show, with patrons over at Subscribestar for both Crowdsource the Truth and I Am John Cullen and Patreon. And then you've got Substack and
Odyssey.
Where are you? You're Odyssey. You people can sign up there. People sign up in 19 places for you. Odyssey, Substack, Patreon, Subscribestar for Crowdsource the Truth.
Yeah,
I've only got 2. I've only got Patreon and Subscribestar. But when we go there, it's going to be exciting tonight, because I've been promising our patrons for some time that I was going to teach them how Stephen Brundage does the Rubik's Cube magic that he does on America's Got Talent with Simon Cowell. He ended up as one of the finalists. I don't recall if he won or who else won it, but he was one of the finalists. He was in top 2, top 5, something like that. And we're going to take a look at, when we go Patreon only, we'll take a look at his act. We'll watch it once so that you guys can go ooh and ah, and then you're going to ride the space bar for me, right? And we're going to break down the moves, and I'm going to show you how he does it. Okay, so you've got the video.
Rubik's.
The Rubik's. Well, he does this Rubik's Cube thing with Simon Cowell, with Heidi Klum and whatever. And something's wrong with Heidi's dress. It doesn't come together in the middle. Something's wrong with it. It's like it doesn't close all the way.
Wardrobe malfunction.
It's something weird. Yeah, it's like if my clothes didn't come together, that would look very odd.
Nobody wants to look at that.
So we're going to take a look at this. So we're going to look at how he does that, because I've been promising this to the audience, and because what it's about is deception. In other words, when you watch it, you're going to see something that's just kind of wild. It's like, whoa, this is ridiculous. This is unbelievable. How does he do this? And then I'm going to break it down and show you the bits and pieces of it. And go, this is still amazing, but now you'll understand how it's done. And there's a lot of stuff like that. And in tonight's show, we're going to look at some stuff that has disappeared over the years.
Yeah.
Right? Certain things have disappeared over the years, right? Besides common sense. I'm talking about...
In addition to...
I'm talking about actual things, right? Have disappeared. So we're going to take a closer look at that. That's in our slide deck tonight. And we'll do the deeper dive with the patrons. And again, the patrons are coming away with information that's very meaningful. It's like we joke around here on the YouTube show because it's kind of all we can do. The content that we get into when we go with our patrons is kind of this deep dive stuff. And tonight we've got some major breaking observations that I haven't been able to share with our audience yet. So I had a chance to talk about it with, I think it was on Tommy's podcast the other day. I was a guest on Tommy's podcast. He's super popular. He's like on Rumble. He's got like 18,000 followers, but everybody loves Tommy. Everybody's been on Tommy's show, so I was on Tommy's podcast as a guest. And I can't wait to show this to you guys. I think you're going to flip out. So if you like, we can go to the deck, and then I've got a bunch of videos tonight.
Well, I just wanted to point something out to you for a second here on the John E. Hoover channel. First of all, I want to thank the 46,700 subscribers. But it's so strange, John. We only have 59 people enjoying the simulcast on there right now. It seems like a suppression thing, because this is a large following for a YouTube channel. I think the average number of subscribers for a YouTube channel is in the hundreds. Obviously, it's offset by tons of people who have 0 subscribers, but that's a lot, 46,000. And I do appreciate the almost 60 who are watching us over there. It's just so strange. It seems like YouTube has their thumb on the scale, fighting against us. Another good reason why it's important for people to become sponsors on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, and all of the other channels for Crowdsource the Truth. But interesting to observe.
Well, it could simply be, we had the Twitter files with Elon and Twitter, and we got an opportunity to get a chance to see the degree to which the government has been kind of sticking their nose in all this and saying, we can't have people saying this. We got introduced to malinformation by Bobby Kennedy Jr. in the last week or two, right? Which is stuff that, technically it's true, but it's not really consistent with the narrative that they're trying to, bring forward.
They just don't like it.
And so I kind of feel like I might be the king of malinformation, and you may be, the world's greatest host of malinformation programming, right? Which is stuff that's absolutely true and really inconvenient.
You're right.
And yeah.
Well, while you're talking about Bobby Kennedy Jr., I just wanted to point out that earlier this week, Crowdsource the Truth 8 was put in jeopardy thanks to the 57 watching the simulcast there right now. But YouTube basically kicked off this video. Ghost Town NYC, Robert Kennedy Jr. has a New York town hall with Rabbi Shmuley. So they kicked it off, said it had COVID misinformation. I said, what are you talking about? There's no COVID information there at all. And plus, this is a presidential candidate. Bring it back, or I'm going to tell Congress that YouTube is messing around with the election. And they said, oh, yeah, sorry. Our mistake. Here's your video back. So it came back. It had 1.2K views, but there were 29 comments. And then they've subsequently kicked out. It was down to 12. And then there's 8 new ones since then.
Because they took it down and put it up.
No, I'm saying when they put it back, it was 29 comments and 1.2K views. And then they kicked out some of the comments because I was, talking about how, wait a minute, this seems like a hell of a lot of engagement, but who knows what they're doing over there at YouTube. This is another reason, John, why we want to have this direct-to-viewer sponsorship, so that we're dealing with real platforms and real people who want this information, not this manipulated nonsense.
And we're not selling, stuff to
pillows.
Put in your drink and put in your, we're not selling pillows. We're not selling the stuff to drink in the morning or supplements or anything like that. We don't sell a damn thing. Yeah, you can buy T-shirts. You know what? With those T-shirts that those I Am John Cullen T-shirts, I have never taken any money from those guys. It's like,
who makes that?
It was a company called Teespring, and then they changed the name to like Spring. So I don't know. But there was a website, Teespring, with the I Am John Cullen store, and you can buy T-shirts and sweatshirts and all that. And for all I know, there's $1,000, $2,000 sitting in that account. I have no idea. I've never pulled the money out. Yeah.
Man. Well, all right. Anyway, but you're doing really well on Twitter.
Yeah. So look how many people are following me. Now, the interesting thing is, look how many 3s that is. That's all 3s. Well, it was 18. It's really 3 times 6, right? And 6 is really 2 3s, and then we got a 3, and then we got a 6. So I got so excited when I saw that, and I got to share that with you because that's basically all 3s. So that's exciting. All right, so let's go to the next slide. This is what we're going to be taking a look at with the patrons, and I'm going to break it down and show you guys how this is done just for fun. Because it's about deception. It's about what you see, what you think you see, and what's actually happening. And if you can apply that same type of thinking to real life, you end up seeing things more kind of the way I see things.
What are they drinking? Okay, Slurpees here? What the hell is this? Dunkin' Donuts?
Come on, you know Simon.
Dunkin'
Any
Donuts
opportunity,
coffee?
exactly.
That's
how
disgusting.
much you think Dunkin' Donuts is paying to have those cups on those tables?
You can't have a Big Mac sitting there and just eat McDonald's during the show. What is that?
So he's brilliant. No, I'm surprised he hasn't. I'm surprised he's not selling advertising on the straw.
Exactly.
Right? So, all right. So again, for anybody who's watching, we're not doctors. We don't pretend to be doctors. We don't give medical advice. And the pandemic is over, according to the WHO,
to Joe,
and according to President Joe at the auto show. Yeah. Right. So he said it at the auto show, and the WHO is officially said it. So this is no joke. They said it's over.
This guy's Dirty Sanchez over here. What is that?
I don't know what's going on here. So anyway, all right. So let's go to the next slide. So again, that's our kind of disclaimer. Is nothing. There's no medical advice here, and it's over. So turns out that a friend of ours, Dr. Judy Mikovits,
oh yeah,
was just on London Real.
This was great,
and this just premiered today.
Yeah,
I'm not sure when she recorded the interview, but this just premiered today. And 16 minutes into the main interview, she mentions the time that she came on the show with you and me. And I'm so grateful to you for setting that up. I remember when you said, guess what? We got Dr. Judy coming on the show. And I was like, are you kidding me? This is going to be amazing. And the thing I was afraid of was the V word. I didn't want to talk about the V word.
Right.
And I said to Dr. Judy, we can talk about vagina all you want, but we can't talk about the other V word, right? So, you want to get into vagina.
Which was very cool.
She went and got a Heineken or something at some point in the thing, right? So she says, hang on, I got to go get a beer. So,
but it was nice and generous of her to mention us. A lot of people would not do that. So I want to thank Dr. Judy. I actually texted her. We had a little back and forth. So that was really great of her to mention
She's
us.
Awesome. And, she also, it's because of her that I was doing that radio show with Greg Penglis.
All right.
And Dr. Brian Artis and Dr. Jim Thorpe, Dr. Ben Marble. So all these guys kind of came together, again, because of Dr. Judy. And it was her idea to invite me on the show.
Right.
And that kind of pissed all these other guys off because it kind of stole their thunder. And I'm
I don't think
showing
she
up
cares
with all
about pissing people off.
She didn't care.
Yeah.
No, she didn't care at all. But I think the other doctors were a little put off because I show up, again, it's a completely different story.
Why don't you wear a Pokemon costume?
What's that? What about the Pokemon?
You should wear a Pokemon costume. Just tell them you're extremely serious, but you identify as Pikachu. So everybody here just act like this is normal.
It's funny because I've been looking at the female journalists, right? Uh-huh. So the female investigative journalists, and they're popular. Whitney Webb, and they get the big views. Big followings, big views, and guys like me in hats and glasses, forget about it. Nobody wants to see. If you think the Pikachu branding might be better than the hat and the glasses, or maybe there's some sort of a blend, maybe we should go into ChatGPT and see if we can blend the hat, the glasses, and the Pikachu. And maybe I'll be taken more seriously this way. So we'll have to take a look at that and see what ChatGPT recommends for rebranding.
I think if you get a very good costume, maybe people just will have no choice. You tell them that they have to make the plane tickets cost less or something because this is you identify. Exactly. I don't know what this is talking about. I do actually.
All right, let's go back to the deck. So when we go to the patron-only show, we're going to play this video clip. It's a segment from the interview with Brian Rose at London Real, and he does a great job. I mean, he ran for mayor and he does these interviews, and his production quality is phenomenal.
Yeah,
the studio,
his
the
suits
lighting,
are
and
very well tailored as well.
Yeah, he's a sharp dresser, successful guy and all that stuff. And he also works out and, does all this other stuff. But great
What's his
interview
deal?
with
If
Dr. Judy.
he's American, what's he doing in London? I mean, he sounds like he's American.
I don't know. I was American living in Thailand. People, what the hell am I doing over there? You go live somewhere else. It's different. It's interesting. The architecture in England's amazing, right? Those canals. I watch these videos on YouTube about people in these long boats on these canals up in England and Scotland and Wales, and they go chug, chug, chug up the canals in these skinny long boats. They're like 100 feet long and 8 feet wide. And there's a whole bunch of videos on that on YouTube. I found that stuff fascinating. It's like a whole nother lifestyle. It's like a completely another world.
I have a friend who lives in London on a houseboat on the Thames.
That sounds like a field trip. We need to find an investigation somewhere in that neighborhood. See if you can find it. See if you can find us another meteor crater nearby, and we'll go hang out with your buddy in the houseboat.
Could make our second meteor crater Stonehenge.
There you go. That's good.
Now, has COVID killed off the flu, John? These are things that disappear.
Well, this was the funny thing. So for those of you who are only watching on YouTube and are not yet patrons, the funny part of what Dr. Judy says in the London Real clip that we're going to play for the patrons is at the end of it, she says she's basically making fun of everybody. And she's like, what are you guys, idiots? You think we really eradicated the flu in 100 countries? Like, she's like, people were trying to explain this? like she's like shaking her head in disbelief. It's hysterical. So we're going to play that for the patrons. People are going to get to see that. And that's kind of the twist here is last weekend, I had an opportunity to spend a couple hours with Dr. Judy. And so we recorded a segment and we went through all the data together. And then she recorded this London Real piece. So this was kind of top of mind when she was talking to Brian Rose. And I'll be releasing this interview that I did with Dr. Judy shortly. So this will be coming out soon.
That's great.
I'll probably have to do it in like little bits on YouTube, little 3-minute, 4-minute pieces, because when you string it together, it just gets too intense. And for the patrons, I'll have to figure out some way that the patrons can just watch the whole thing. So, so we've got a major break I need to share with the audience before we go to patron only, because this is kind of stunning.
Ooh, it even gets its own title card.
It gets its own. Very exciting.
Very dramatic. What's the break? Oh, all right. Flu's back.
So you got no. So hang on, it's not back. Huh. You guys know how we've been using this system and these charts to look at the disappearance of influenza, right? And so the theme of tonight's show are things that disappear. And 2 years after, or 3 years after you and I started documenting all this stuff, people like Martin Neal and all these other, dodos, Jordan Schachtel, come out of the woodwork and go, what happened to the flu? And it disappeared and it got rebranded, and they're trying to figure it out.
Rebranded, new flu, 20% more free.
Again, so it's like looking at it's like knockoff bands of Led Zeppelin. It's like they all kind of suck, right? It's like none of them.
Zeppelin, you remember that one?
Well, that might be the only one worth seeing. But all right, but the rest of them suck. So the point here is, right? What was the one thing we learned from Howard Stern? Everybody loves lesbians. All right, so
how to make ham stick to somebody's ass.
I don't want to run out of time. We got to show this to the audience. This is huge. All right. So the reason that the disappearance of influenza in weeks 11 through 14 of 2020 is so important is because of what was happening immediately before that. Another major break. What are we looking at? China?
I don't know. Oh, yeah. Oh,
China. In December of 2019? Wait a second. I thought in December of 2019, China was having a COVID outbreak. That's what I thought was happening. According to the WHO, According to the WHO, what are those numbers? How many people a week are testing positive?
6,000.
5,000?
6,000. That's crazy. So this is from the WHO.
This is from the WHO, and this is leading into the disappearance of influenza. So it's like, remember, we've been kind of racking our brains and saying, why would you need to hide a pandemic? Oh, now we might know. We were in the midst of something rather. Let's go to the next slide and see if this major break leads to another major break, right? So once you realize that Buffalo Bill has got a basement room, and you go down to the basement room, and then you realize Buffalo Bill's got a well in the basement, you're like, what the? Like Gilgo Beach, they just found that, right?
Basket. Yeah,
all right, making that all exactly.
Up, anyway,
all right. Major break leads to another major break, dude. Look,
so everybody's having this flu outbreak.
This is December. This is the same time frame in country after country after country. That's China.
But how did every doctor suddenly become too stupid?
Whoa. What's going on? There's a major influenza outbreak all over the place, and then
it stops.
But Doves, Clark Kent turns to Superman, the tiger jumps out of the cage, and everybody's like, well, what happened to Penn Jillette? Where the hell did that 6'5" dork go? Where did he go? Dude, there's a major influenza outbreak going on all over the place, and then it just disappears in weeks 11 through 14. In 28 days, it just disappears, and it's gone for 2 years, or almost 2 years. That's the part of the story we've been focusing on. What we haven't been focusing on is the prologue. What happened before it disappeared? It's all over the place. Well, we talked about how it actually really started in Australia. And then we said, well, we should probably look around the rest of the Southern Hemisphere. We should probably look at Chile and Argentina. And we should probably look at
Australia. No?
Well, but this is time-based. So meaning it's like a wave. The wave begins in the Southern Hemisphere in Australia. This is where it starts. We documented this. Go to the next slide. You'll see the next country, also Southern Hemisphere. So it starts like a wave. This is like a tidal wave. Begins in the Southern Hemisphere. Now you keep going. Next slide. You'll see the wave beginning in the Southern Hemisphere.
New Zealand.
Right. They have their outbreak. Not as big. It's not that big a place.
South Africa.
Right. South Africa has an outbreak. Right. Now, next, keep going. Chile, Southern Hemisphere. Now you're going to see the baton zone is going to come up.
Argentina. What do you mean?
Argentina, Southern Hemisphere, meaning the wave is starting to move to the right. Saudi Arabia, right on the equator. Saudi Arabia, right on the equator is your baton zone. Now it's in. So the wave has moved from the left in the Southern Hemisphere across to the right. You see it in Saudi Arabia, right, kind of in the middle, because that's right on the equator. Now it moves to China, and on, and country after country after country after country. There's a major influenza outbreak, and then it's gone. So as big a story as the disappearance of influenza in 28 days from 100 countries is the outbreak of influenza that preceded it that I guess nobody seemed to notice except for Time magazine.
Well, that's what I mean. How are doctors suddenly too stupid to know that everybody has the flu and just be told that it's some magical new disease? I guess we can't even talk about that right now because that would be speculating about medical stuff, which we do not do. This is all just information from the World Health Organization. And we now need to go over to our sponsor exclusive segment. You can watch on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Big thank you to all of the viewer sponsors that make this show and every other show on Crowdsource the Truth possible. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Stay with us. Become a sponsor if you aren't already. Thanks for tuning in.